Toronto once again with Learning God Ministries. Welcome back, or if you're new to the channel, hello, welcome, initially. Okay, I'm going to start a series, two-part series this time. It's going to be on something called the thin line, something I call the thin line. And what is the thin line? There's a side, and there's another side of this line. Let's go to the drawing board. And as you know, my drawing skills are just incredible. The thin line, this is part one. Next week I'll be doing part two. Here's the thin line. Now, I know you're not going to say that that's not the greatest line in the world, but trust me, it's the best line I'm going to be drawing today. Here's the thin line. What is on this side? What is on this side? We're going to talk about words. All we could do is talk about words because I can't give you the feeling. I could try to give you the feeling, but once you hear the word, you kind of get the feeling. Let's call this side of the line, which is the upside, and this side of the line is called the downside. Now, usually the words up and down are even words in themselves to help us feel how we feel. Things are looking up. All right away you think of, okay, we're going in the right direction because things are looking up. Things are looking down. That doesn't sound like it's great. How does God fit into all this? Well, we're going to see. Let's call the up line the God side. And we'll call this downside the, I don't want to use names. Let's go anti-God. Anti, against. So this is the against God side, and this is the God side. Let's get some words going. Let's go to the top side first, the God side. I'm going to write a word. And the word is love. All you need is love. This is the love side. These words that I'm going to write here are pretty much what God has in mind for us. Whether we like it or not, that's what He has in mind. Words I'm writing down here are going to be what anti-God has in mind for us. Love. Do I need to go any further than what love is? Love is love. God is love. Period. What's the opposite of love? That's easy. Any child can tell you that. Oh, there we go. Okay. Hate. When you hate something, and I'm not talking about hating your lima beans, because I hate lima beans. I'm talking about hate in the God sense. What is God thinking hate is? What does God think love is? Actually, God isn't even on this side with the word hate. He's on this side with the word love. All right, so just to give you an inkling of where we're going with the thin line. And there's a very thin line between love and hate. You could go from loving something and then hating something very quickly. So that's why we call it the thin line. So we got love, we got hate. What else do we have? Another word that we'll feel right away is joy. I'll separate these. Joy. Joy is exactly that. I'm joyous. I have a lot of joy because something good happened to me. We're going to get with good and bad because that's all relative anyway. But I want to talk about what joy is in God's eyes, not my own. Okay? Although, if I'm filled with joy, hopefully it's in what God wants me to fill joy with. Make sense? Opposite of joy? Well, let's go. What did I get here? I thought this was a good word. Misery. If someone is miserable, they are not having any joy. So misery is just the opposite of what joy is. I feel miserable today. If you're sick in bed with 104 fever, you're not feeling joy. Well, I hope not. You're feeling miserable. So misery is below the thin line. It's on the anti-God side because it doesn't involve God. All right, let's go another word. Hope. If you don't have hope, you basically don't have any gusto to do things. And if you want to do something in your life, you have to have hope. I hope I can do this. I have hope. I have hope. I have God's hope. Period. The other opposite end of hope is, oops, that's a D. Very hard to write on this thing. Hope you can make that out. It's called despair. I have hope, or I have despair. Despair is exactly the opposite of hoping for something. You're not hoping anymore. You're living just a life with no hope. Hopefully you don't live it in despair because you're really below the line and you're on the anti-God side. Try to get to this side. All right, another word. I know. I wrote a few of these down. I'm not going to list them all here. What about peace? Do you want to live in peace? Or do you want to live not in peace? Which we'll get to that word. Peace is exactly that. I'm living peacefully. I'm living in peace. I'm living God's peace. Again, not your own. These words are feelings that we would use with our spirit to connect with God's spirit. These are God's definitions of these words, not yours, because sometimes we like to misconstrue these things a little bit. So, peace. The opposite of peace. If I could write it correctly, in a position that I'm in, breaking my back. Chaos. If something is chaotic, it's not peaceful. It's in a mesh of chaos. You don't want to live your life in a mesh of chaos. And some people do. Because they're on the anti-God side of the thin line. So you have a choice to live your life through God's peace or the anti-God's chaos. Do you really want to live in chaos? It's your choice. I'll give you one more word. It pretty much sums up all of these words above this line. Positive. Well, positivity. I'm positive. I look at things positively. Now, that doesn't mean they're always good. Like, I'm sure if I jump off a building, I'm positive I'm going to hit the floor and die. That's not God's positivity. That's me thinking I have a positive answer to this if I do something stupid like that. But that's the positivity. If someone's positive, they're a positive person. You could hang. If maybe you don't like positivity. I don't know. But the other side of positivity is, of course, negative. How about being around somebody negative all day? I know you experienced it, if not going through it right now. But if you're around somebody negative, you're going to feel it. Because check this out. And then we're going to get to part 2 about what we're going to be talking about. Love, joy, hope, peace, positivity. They're infectious, but not as much as hate, misery, despair, chaos, and negativity. When I'm on that stupid internet and you're on your social media and whatever videos you're watching, there are more negative anti-God videos that have millions and millions and millions of views. The ones that have love, joy, hope, peace, positivity, the God side, doesn't have as many views as the bottom ones, because humans, by their nature, are drawn to this line. It's very difficult for us to stay above the thin line. Why? Well, first of all, you got to know God to be able to stay above the thin line. We are in a world filled with stuff that drags us below the thin line into these categories. We love it. Why do we love it? Again, it's our sinful nature. That's what sinful nature is. Are you bringing people above the thin line, or are you bringing them below the thin line? Media has a lot to do with it. We're going to go with what the media is in part 2. But what does this actually say between God and anti-God, and love and hate? It's a very simple word. If you have no God, you will know hate. Make sense? But if you know God, you will have a hatred for hate. No God in your life, no hate. No God in your life, no hate. That's if you truly do understand what God means and what he says to someone that speaks to him. Make sense? All right, next week, we're going to talk about the Thin Line Part 2 and how social media fits into all this. Because social media, yes, it's social, but it actually tells us what we're supposed to like, do, think, how we act. Who do we hate this week? We love things like this. So next week, part 2, the thin line, and we'll figure it out as we go. All right, thank you very much. Thanks for watching. Whatever you do, do it with God. My Camarado Learning God. Take care. Bye-bye.